I like to think every new anime is another chance. Maybe it'll be something that surprises me, maybe it'll be something weird, maybe it'll hold a mirror to my very soul, I never know. In the very least, I hope it's something fun I can actually share with my mother. So how about Island? First 3 minutes, Setsuna wakes up naked on a beach with no memories. Then a girl trips and face plants into his privates. Nope, not sharing this with my mother. I say he has no memories, he's certain he's from the future, which everyone in town takes surprisingly well, especially if they're a lead girl. These behavioral patterns remind me of the last anime I watched based on a visual novel. Called it. The island Setsuna is on has many mysteries and oddities, and the 3 lead girls are somewhat mysterious in their own ways, and have their own conflicts to overcome. I'll admit it took a few episodes for me to get into. It was quicker to develop its mysteries than its characters, which there's nothing wrong with that, I just could have gotten immersed quicker is all. However, it's a very well-rounded series, predictable in some places but becomes very unpredictable later. Humor's good. When it wants to charm me with a possible relationship with Setsuna and Rina, I became charmed. It's all supported by fascinating characters and story, and yes, I did get emotional once or twice. I'll admit Island is not a must-see, but the music is a must-hear, and the series is in my top 10 for 2018. One thing it has going for and against it is it's wildly complicated. Aw, does your head hurt, Chaos Kyun? Maybe you'd prefer all the complexity of a cute girl with squeaky voice. Don't be a jerk. I love Death Note and Code Geass, and Chaos Head is in my top 50. No, this throws in unnecessary details for the sake of throwing me off. For example, it brings up how some individuals are allergic to sunlight and makes it out to have earth-shattering ramifications, but they don't. The series would not have lost a lot if they didn't do that at all. He later finds a piece of paper shoved in a book that reads Setsuna must die, and I thought long and hard about that paper and realized it could have read my dog ate my homework for all it mattered. It was never mentioned again. It's a fine mystery, it just has unnecessary bells and whistles. The only true threat to my immersion was the logic errors. One girl tried to kill him, failed, hurt herself in an adorable way. The subject is brought up one more time without ever developing on why. Then in episode 3 it ends with Karin demanding Setsuna, and I quote, mess her up. Your first thought was she demanded sex, right? Wrong, she wanted Setsuna to mess up the arranged marriage she's supposed to have. There's a massive difference between shouting that's what you get for assuming and outright lying to me. In all fairness though, it did play a good trick on episode 7. Then episode 9 takes the sort of turn that makes you feel like you're watching an entirely different anime altogether. In fact, in the mid-episode eye catch, it starts to call itself Never Island, the opening changes, and it's certainly no longer the cute little romance it was shaping up to be. It was a change so abrupt that it's easy to miss the plot holes it creates. The series is playing its own game of whack-a-mole in that half the time it answers one question, another is raised. And it never did finish answering all my questions, which takes me to spoiler territory, so if you haven't seen it, go ahead, it's worth it. Come back to me when you've finished, because the rest of this isn't going to make sense until you do. Right, welcome back. They didn't really do anything else with that bit where Rina disappeared 5 years and came back from that other island without aging, did they? Yes, she was put in a pod eventually, but that was after years in the wilderness. I'm theorizing that extra island prevents aging as well as that pod. Could have been why that facility was there. Additionally, I have ceased to care if they call this time period past or future. I'm calling it an alternate timeline entirely. It even has its own version of Karin, somehow. And I am still not convinced that whether Rina lives or dies determines whether the world goes post-apocalyptic. No, mentioning the butterfly effect doesn't make everything make sense all of a sudden. Lastly, is anyone else curious about the age difference between Setsuna and Kyun? I'm happy they're together, but what is Setsuna? 18 at most? And Kyun was slightly younger than that when she became pregnant with Rina, plus the 23 years since Rina's birth. My second favorite anime is Ancient Magus Bride, so I'm not going to fuss too much, but instead I'll applaud it for truly making me wonder who Setsuna would end up with. See that golden time? You can achieve this too if you don't tell people how it ends in the opening.